A financial advisor stumbles upon a hidden account under his name containing millions. He becomes a suspect in a massive financial system scam. He discovers that someone who was once very close holds the key he needs to stay free. Jack Turner's morning starts like any other. As a financial advisor in New York City, his days are filled with numbers, client meetings, and the constant buzz of Wall Street just outside his office windows. But today, as he sifts through his emails while sipping his meticulously brewed coffee, one message stands out. A notification from a bank he doesn't recognize, claiming a statement for an account in his name is ready to review. Confusion sets in as Jack prides himself on his meticulous financial oversight, both personally and professionally. Intrigued and cautious, he logs into the provided link, which indeed shows an account under his name, but one he never opened. The account holds several $1 million, far more than any simple error or identity theft case would suggest. The atmosphere in his plush office turns cold, the hum of the city outside now a distant echo. Jack's mind races with questions. How could this happen without his knowledge? Who else might be involved? And what does this mean for his reputation if it comes to light? The gravity of the situation begins to dawn on him. He decides to probe further into the transaction histories and the origins of the funds, unaware that this decision will mark the beginning of a life-changing journey. After discovering the account, Jack's initial shock gives way to a methodical investigation. He contacts the bank to gather more information, but the customer service can only confirm the account's existence, not its origins, citing privacy and security protocols. His frustration mounts as he hangs up, the pieces of the puzzle remaining elusive. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Jack enlists the help of his assistant, Sarah, a sharp and resourceful ally who has been with him through various market ups and downs. Together, they start digging deeper, combing through the account statements for any clue that might point to the source of the funds or the identity of the depositor. They notice several large transactions linked to offshore companies, notorious for their roles in money laundering schemes. Their investigation leads them to a suspicious pattern of deposits and withdrawals, coinciding with dates and events that remind Jack of his estranged brother Tom, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances years ago. The realization hits Jack hard. Could Tom be alive? And if so, what dark dealings might he be involved in that would lead to millions being funneled into an account in Jack's name? The chapter ends with Jack and Sarah reviewing security footage from the bank's branch offices, hoping to catch a glimpse of who might have managed the account in person. Just as they start to lose hope, a face appears on the screen, a face remarkably similar to Tom's, but with a hardened, wary look that Jack barely recognizes. The grainy image on the screen momentarily freezes Jack's resolve. The man in the footage, with the same sharp jawline as his brother Tom, but with years seemingly added in just a few moments, makes small transactions at the bank. Jack feels a mix of disbelief and dread. This can't possibly be Tom, yet the resemblance is uncanny. He rewinds the footage, watching the man's interactions with the teller. There's an ease in his demeanor, suggesting familiarity and regularity. The implications are overwhelming. Jack is now tied to potentially criminal activities, and his brother might be the link. Determined to uncover the truth, Jack decides to trace the offshore companies connected to the account. Sarah, sitting across from him, maps out a strategy to approach this without alerting whoever might be monitoring the account. They decide to use their network of financial contacts discreetly, hoping to gather information under the radar. As they delve deeper, Jack's professional acumen is put to the test. Each discovery leads to more questions, and with every answer, the web of deceit grows more tangled. He realizes that this isn't just about finding Tom or clearing his name. It's about unraveling a conspiracy that might go deeper than he ever imagined. Late one evening, Jack and Sarah sit in a quiet coffee shop, the dim light creating a bubble of privacy. They discuss their next move, going over the list of companies and transactions. Each name on the list is a lead, but also a potential danger. Sarah suggests they bring in a private investigator to help track the origins of these companies without exposing Jack. Reluctantly, Jack agrees. The risk of doing nothing is far greater than the risk of action. They contact Alex Ramirez, a seasoned private investigator known for his discretion and effectiveness in the financial sector. Alex listens intently over a secure call, his voice calm but concerned, as Jack outlines the situation. Alex agrees to take the case, promising to use his international contacts to trace the companies without leading back to Jack. As they finalize the details, Jack feels a weight lift slightly, but the tension of uncertainty remains. Back at his office, Jack stares out at the city skyline, contemplating the series of events that have thrust him into this shadowy world. The night deepens, and as he turns from the window, his phone buzzes, an unknown number. He answers hesitantly. "Jack Turner?" a voice asks. Jack confirms, and the caller continues. "You don't know me, but I know about the account. You need to stop digging if you value your safety." The call ends abruptly, leaving Jack gripping his phone tightly, the earlier sense of relief completely evaporated. The threat confirms his fears. This is bigger than a simple case of fraud or identity theft. Someone powerful wants to keep the truth buried. As he processes the warning, he realizes he has crossed a line from which he cannot retreat. The chapter closes with Jack making a resolute decision. Despite the dangers, he will uncover the truth, not just to save his reputation, but perhaps to save lives, including what might be left of his brothers. As the morning light spills into his office, Jack reviews the files Alex sent overnight. The documents contain detailed backgrounds on the offshore companies, which are shell entities linked to various illicit activities across the globe. The deeper connections to his brother's last known whereabouts begin to sketch a disturbing picture. Jack and Sarah pore over the information, tracing Tom's movements through these companies. There's a clear pattern of Tom surfacing in different cities, coinciding with the founding dates of these entities. The realization that Tom might have been deeply involved in global financial crimes is hard for Jack to accept, but the evidence is irrefutable. Amidst the piles of paperwork and digital records, Jack finds a photo from a surveillance camera outside a bank in Panama, dated just weeks ago. It shows Tom, alive and apparently thriving, a stark contrast to the missing persons case that had long since gone cold. Jack's emotions churn: relief, anger, betrayal. Determined to confront Tom, Jack discusses the possibility of traveling to Panama with Sarah. She insists on accompanying him, citing the need for extra security and support. They prepare for the trip, knowing that they're stepping into potentially dangerous territory, not just legally but physically. The flight to Panama is tense. Jack goes over his plan repeatedly, each scenario more uncertain than the last. He questions whether confronting Tom is the right decision, but the need for answers pushes him forward. Upon arrival, Jack and Sarah navigate the humid, bustling streets of Panama City to the last known address associated with Tom. The building is nondescript, blending into a row of similar structures. As they approach, the weight of the situation settles heavily on Jack. They wait and watch. Hours pass with no sign of Tom. Jack's doubts grow, but just as they consider leaving, a figure matching Tom's description enters the building. Heart racing, Jack decides it's now or never. He follows Tom inside, with Sarah close behind. Inside, they confront a surprised Tom, who reacts defensively. Jack demands answers, but Tom is evasive, claiming he's in danger and can't talk openly. His paranoia is palpable, hinting at powerful forces at play. Tom agrees to meet later in a safer location to explain everything. Jack and Sarah leave, their minds racing with possibilities. The brief encounter with Tom has opened more questions than it answered. They prepare for the night's meeting, unsure of whom they can trust. The chapter ends as Jack looks out over the city from his hotel room, the fading sunlight casting long shadows. The impending meeting looms large, a pivotal moment that could unravel the mysteries surrounding the secret account or plunge Jack deeper into peril. In a dimly lit cafe on the outskirts of Panama City, Jack and Sarah wait nervously for Tom to arrive. The cafe, with its subdued murmur of conversations and occasional clink of coffee cups, feels oddly normal despite the gravity of their situation. Finally, Tom appears, looking over his shoulder as he slips into the booth opposite Jack. Tom's demeanor is fraught with anxiety, his eyes scanning the room before he speaks. He starts by apologizing for the cryptic messages and the secrecy, explaining that he's been under surveillance since he crossed some very dangerous people in his financial dealings. He reveals that he set up the account in Jack's name as a safety net, using it to funnel money that needed to be cleaned, believing it would stay off the radar due to Jack's reputable standing. As Tom divulges the details of his entanglement with a major money laundering syndicate, Jack processes the implications. Tom's actions have not only put Jack at risk legally, but have also endangered his life. The syndicate, Tom explains, is now aware that Jack is probing into the account and they are not pleased. Sarah takes meticulous notes, her mind racing with legal strategies to protect Jack. They discuss potential moves, including cooperation with international law enforcement to leverage immunity or protection for Tom in exchange for his testimony against the syndicate. The meeting ends with Tom providing Jack with a hard drive containing incriminating evidence against the syndicate, enough to potentially dismantle it. He implores Jack to use it if anything happens to him as an insurance policy. They part ways, with Tom disappearing into the night and Jack feeling a mix of betrayal and obligation towards his brother. Back at their hotel, Jack and Sarah review the contents of the hard drive. The documents and communications detail the syndicate's operations, implicating numerous high-profile individuals across different countries. The weight of their discovery is immense. This evidence could shift power balances and invite retribution. Jack realizes the depth of the danger he's in. He decides to contact the FBI and arrange a meeting to hand over the evidence. As they prepare to leave Panama, Jack feels the stakes of his actions climbing ever higher. On their way to the airport, a sense of unease grows. Jack's earlier conversation with Tom echoes in his mind, a warning that feels all too prescient now. They check their surroundings repeatedly, the threat of being followed a constant fear. As they arrive at the airport, their tension peaks. Navigating through the crowds, Jack feels exposed, every stranger a potential threat. They reach the security checkpoint, and just as they are about to breathe a sigh of relief, Jack receives a text message. It's from an unknown number, but he immediately knows it's from the syndicate. "We know what you have. It ends now." The chapter ends with Jack and Sarah abruptly turning away from the security line, deciding in a split second to avoid the planned route. They need a new plan, and fast, as the realization hits that they are not just players in this game, they are being hunted. Jack and Sarah quickly retreat from the bustling airport, their minds racing to formulate a new escape plan. The message from the syndicate confirms their worst fears. They are being watched more closely than they had imagined. The airport, once a gateway to safety, now feels like a trap. They hail a taxi and instruct the driver to head towards a less conspicuous part of the city, away from their hotel and any familiar landmarks. As they weave through the traffic, Jack contacts Alex Ramirez, updating him on the situation and requesting immediate assistance in finding a secure location. Alex advises them to go to a safe house used by operatives in deep cover. It's located in an old, nondescript building on the outskirts of Panama City, a place that doesn't exist on maps and is wiped from digital records. With this new destination set, Jack and Sarah prepare themselves for the next phase of their journey, knowing that every move could be critical. As the taxi pulls up to the safe house, Jack and Sarah quickly enter the dimly lit foyer, their senses heightened. Alex meets them inside, his expression grave. He briefs them on the situation. The syndicate is mobilizing resources to recover the hard drive and eliminate any threats to their operations. Inside the safe house, under the harsh fluorescent lights of a sparse room, Jack, Sarah, and Alex discuss their limited options. Alex has contacts in the FBI's International Operations Division who could expedite their extraction from Panama and provide protection in exchange for the evidence Jack holds. But trust is a scarce commodity, and the risk of corruption or leaks is high. Jack decides it's worth the risk. He can't see another way out that doesn't involve running indefinitely or facing the syndicate head-on, a battle they are not equipped to win. He makes the call to the FBI, using a secure line provided by Alex, and arranges a covert meeting at the U.S. Embassy. The trio spends a restless night at the safe house, jumping at every sound. The next morning, they make their way to the embassy under the guise of tourists. The tension is palpable. Every step they take is measured, every stranger a potential enemy. At the embassy, they are quickly ushered into a secure conference room where Jack hands over the hard drive to an FBI agent who specializes in international crime. The agent assures them of their safety and begins making arrangements for their safe return to the United States. Just as they start to relax, Jack's phone vibrates with another message. It's another warning, this time more direct. "You can't hide behind your government. We will find you." The message chills him to the bone, reminding him that this game is far from over. The chapter ends with Jack, Sarah, and Alex being taken to a secure holding area within the embassy. They are safe for now, but the looming threat outside is just waiting for a chance to strike. Jack looks out of the small barred window, pondering the network of danger they've tangled with. He knows the true battle has just begun, and the path to clearing his name and protecting his family will be fraught with peril. Back in New York, Jack and Sarah find themselves in a different kind of maze, one made of bureaucracy and legal maneuvers rather than the shadowy streets of Panama. The FBI has taken charge of the case, placing Jack under temporary protective custody while they investigate the breadth of the syndicate's operations using the evidence from the hard drive. In the safety of a nondescript FBI safe house, Jack struggles with the idle hours, feeling caged despite the comforts provided. He spends his days meeting with lawyers and federal agents, discussing the possible outcomes of his cooperation. The agents are particularly interested in Tom's whereabouts and the potential for him to testify against the syndicate. Sarah visits frequently, bringing updates from the office and news on the financial world, which seems distant and irrelevant to Jack now. She also brings paperwork for Jack to sign, keeping his business alive, albeit on life support. Despite the protection, Jack's mind often wanders back to the dangers lurking outside, the unseen eyes that might still be watching. During one of her visits, Sarah brings unsettling news. Their office had been broken into. Although nothing was visibly stolen, the message was clear. Someone was trying to intimidate them, or perhaps searching for something specific that they believed Jack might have hidden. Disturbed by the breach, Jack insists on enhancing their security protocols and asks Sarah to be extremely cautious. He contacts Alex, requesting him to keep a discreet watch over the office and Sarah. Alex agrees, understanding the stakes are high and the enemy is likely still at large. Meanwhile, the FBI ramps up their efforts to dismantle the syndicate. They have managed to arrest several lower-tier members, but the heads of the organization remain elusive. Jack provides everything he knows, names he heard from Tom, patterns he noticed in the transactions, hoping each detail might help. In a significant development, the FBI traces financial threads leading to a major political figure, suggesting corruption at higher levels. This revelation adds layers of complexity to the case, hinting at the dangerous power the syndicate wields. Jack is briefed on the situation, and the weight of his involvement grows heavier, knowing that his actions have now stirred waters much deeper and murkier than he anticipated. As the case progresses, Jack becomes more involved with the FBI's strategy sessions, offering insights into the financial mechanisms the syndicate used. His expertise becomes invaluable as he helps to decode complex layers of shell companies and trace routes of money flows. This deep dive into the underworld of financial crime reveals just how interconnected and protected the syndicate is, extending its reach far beyond simple criminal enterprises. One evening, while reviewing documents, Jack stumbles upon a familiar name linked to a series of transactions that don't immediately fit the pattern of laundering he'd come to recognize. The name belongs to an old friend and mentor from his early days on Wall Street, someone Jack had revered. This discovery sends him spiraling, questioning the moral fabric of his entire career circle. The next day, Jack meets with the FBI agents to discuss his findings. The agents are skeptical at first, but Jack's detailed explanation and evidence lead them to expand their investigation. This shift means reaching out to international law enforcement agencies and exploring potential leads in Europe where the transactions originated. Amidst the escalating investigation, Sarah brings another piece of troubling news. She's been followed a few times over the past week. After ensuring her safety, Jack and the FBI decide it's best to bring her into protective custody as well. Her deeper involvement becomes necessary and also means she's now a target. In protective custody, Sarah's resilience shines. She works closely with Jack, helping to manage the overflow of information, turning their safe house into a makeshift command center. Together, they piece together a more comprehensive picture of the syndicate's influence and operations. Meanwhile, the FBI organizes a covert operation based on the leads Jack and Sarah have provided. The operation targets a key meeting in Berlin, hoping to capture some of the syndicate's top leaders. Jack is anxious, knowing the success of this operation could lead to significant breakthroughs, but also aware of the potential for backlash. The chapter concludes with Jack and Sarah waiting in tense anticipation for news of the operation. The quiet before the storm is unsettling, and Jack finds himself grappling with the decisions that led him here. He knows that no matter the outcome, his life will never return to the simplicity of financial advisories and Wall Street buzz. He's now a key player in a global effort to dismantle a criminal empire, and the path forward is fraught with danger and moral ambiguity. The covert operation in Berlin yields mixed results. While the FBI does manage to apprehend several mid-level operatives, the top leaders slip through the net, possibly tipped off. The partial success, however, garners a treasure trove of documents and data which could potentially lead to more significant arrests. The failure to capture the top brass of the syndicate gnaws at Jack, hinting at a possible mole within the international law enforcement teams. Back at the safe house, Jack and Sarah delve into the new data with the help of a small, trusted FBI team. As they analyze the documents, they uncover evidence of bribes to various global officials, including some within the United States. This revelation confirms Jack's worst fears about the depth and breadth of the syndicate's corruption. During a late-night review session, a breakthrough occurs. Sarah, tracing the flow of funds through multiple accounts, discovers a pattern linking back to the political figure previously identified by the FBI. This connection provides the missing link needed to expose a significant part of the syndicate's operations. Jack feels a mix of triumph and dread. They're about to expose powerful individuals who will stop at nothing to protect their interests. With concrete evidence in hand, the FBI moves quickly. They arrange a series of raids across multiple countries, coordinating with global law enforcement to dismantle the newly exposed network branches. Jack is briefed on every step, his role as a consultant solidifying into that of an expert witness who will eventually testify at trials. As the raids unfold, media coverage of the scandal explodes. Names are leaked, careers are ruined, and the financial markets react with volatility. Jack watches the news unfold with bittersweet satisfaction. His actions have helped to cleanse the system, but at great personal cost. The impact of their work hits home when Jack receives an anonymous message, not a threat this time, but an invitation to meet. The sender claims to have crucial information about the syndicate's future plans and proposes a clandestine meeting. Torn between the potential trap and the chance to end this for good, Jack consults with the FBI. They decide to set up a controlled meeting, using Jack as bait while providing him with an extensive backup. The meeting is set in a secluded location with snipers and agents hidden in strategic positions. Jack, wired for sound, walks into the meeting, his heart pounding, aware that every step could be his last. The chapter ends with Jack meeting the mysterious informant, a shadowy figure emerging from the mists of a deserted park. As they begin to talk, the tension is palpable, the air thick with the possibility of betrayal or breakthrough. Under the eerie glow of a street lamp, the informant reveals himself to be none other than a high-ranking official within the international law enforcement community who had been working undercover within the syndicate. His identity shocks Jack, but his revelations are even more explosive. He confirms the existence of moles within various government agencies, placed by the syndicate to derail investigations and manipulate legal outcomes. The informant hands Jack a USB drive containing encrypted data, which, he claims, holds the keys to the syndicate's remaining operational structures and their next planned moves. This information is the linchpin to fully dismantling the network. The informant warns Jack that this is his last chance to back out, to disappear and live a quiet life, but Jack is too far in, driven by a need to see justice served. As they part ways, FBI agents converge to escort Jack back to safety, the informant disappearing into the night, his future uncertain. Jack feels the weight of the USB drive in his pocket like a heavy stone, symbolizing both hope and immense responsibility. Back at the FBI safe house, Jack and a select team of analysts work tirelessly to decrypt and analyze the data. The information reveals planned transactions and money laundering paths that would have remained hidden, potentially funding criminal activities on a global scale. This breakthrough allows the FBI to act, freezing accounts and intercepting communications, effectively paralyzing parts of the syndicate's operations. Meanwhile, Sarah coordinates with legal teams to prepare for the ensuing trials, where Jack will be a key witness. The evidence they have gathered is compelling, but Jack's testimony will humanize the cold, hard data, making it more difficult for juries to ignore. She prepares Jack for the courtroom, running through testimony and cross-examination drills, their bond deepening under the pressure of impending public scrutiny. The episode culminates in a preparatory hearing where Jack faces some of the accused across a courtroom. The real-life implications of his actions hit him hard as he sees the human faces of the scandal, the careers he's ended, the lives he's altered. It's a sobering moment that leaves him wrestling with complex emotions as he exits the courthouse, the media frenzy capturing every moment. As Jack steps out into the flash of cameras and barrage of questions, he feels the tide turning. He's no longer just a financial advisor caught up in a criminal investigation. He's a pivotal player in a historic takedown of a massive criminal enterprise. The episode ends with Jack returning to the safe house, the weight of the day settling on his shoulders as he looks out over the city skyline, contemplating the changed world he now inhabits. As the trials approach, Jack and Sarah find themselves scrutinizing every detail in the evidence and preparing for every possible legal challenge. Their days are consumed with strategy meetings and mock trials, where Jack practices his testimony under the harsh questioning of former prosecutors turned defense attorneys hired by the FBI to ensure he's prepared. During one such session, a heated moment leads to a breakthrough in Jack's understanding of his own role in this saga. He realizes that his testimony isn't just about recounting facts. It's about conveying the broader implications of the syndicate's reach and influence. This realization shifts his approach, making his testimony more about storytelling, painting a vivid picture of the manipulation and betrayal that he witnessed. Meanwhile, Sarah works on securing additional evidence and witnesses. Her efforts lead them to a whistleblower within one of the banks used by the syndicate, willing to testify about the internal protocols that were bypassed to facilitate the laundering operations. This new ally provides crucial inside information that solidifies their case, giving them an edge in the upcoming trials. The final preparations for the trial are shadowed by increasing threats. Both Jack and Sarah receive anonymous threats, warning them to step back. The FBI increases their protection, turning their lives into a mix of surveillance and secrecy. Despite the fear, these threats consolidate Jack's resolve to see the trial through, knowing that backing down would mean letting the syndicate regain its power. The episode concludes with Jack entering the courtroom on the first day of the trial. The room is packed with media, law enforcement, and legal teams. As he takes his place at the witness stand, he takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. His eyes meet those of the defendants, a mix of former allies and strangers, all linked by the syndicate. The prosecutor begins the opening statements, outlining the vast network of financial crime, corruption, and betrayal. Jack's testimony is key, and as he prepares to speak, the episode ends, leaving viewers on the edge of their seats, waiting to see how his words will sway the fate of many and possibly his own future. The courtroom buzzes with tension as Jack begins his testimony. Each word he speaks unravels more of the syndicate's operations, implicating high-profile individuals and exposing the global scale of their activities. The defense attorneys grill him, attempting to poke holes in his story and discredit his evidence. However, Jack remains steadfast, his resolve fortified by the righteousness of his cause. As the trial progresses, the evidence presented by Jack and the prosecution team starts to sway the jury. The whistleblower from the bank takes the stand, corroborating Jack's testimony and providing detailed accounts of how the syndicate manipulated financial systems. The courtroom drama is intense, with the public and media captivated by the unfolding story of corruption and redemption. Outside the courtroom, public opinion starts to shift. The coverage of the trial exposes the deep-seated corruption and prompts a broader discussion about accountability and justice in financial sectors. Jack's role as a whistleblower turns him into an unlikely hero in the eyes of many who see him as a beacon of integrity. Midway through the trial, a major twist occurs. One of the defendants agrees to a plea deal, offering to testify against the higher-ups in exchange for a reduced sentence. This testimony proves to be a turning point, providing direct links to some of the most elusive members of the syndicate. Jack is called back to the stand to corroborate this new testimony. His detailed recounting of transactions and events, matched with the new evidence, seals the fate of several key figures in the syndicate. The courtroom is tense as these revelations unfold, with security tight due to the high stakes. Meanwhile, Sarah works tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure all legal preparations are flawless. Her dedication and sharp mind become crucial as they navigate the complex legal waters. The bond between her and Jack strengthens, their professional relationship deepened by mutual respect and shared trials. As the trial nears its conclusion, the atmosphere is charged with anticipation and anxiety. Jack's final testimony is pivotal, laying bare the personal risks he took and the moral dilemmas he faced. His narrative not only captivates the courtroom, but also resonates deeply with the public, highlighting the human element in the fight against systemic corruption. In a dramatic session, video evidence that Jack helped uncover is played in court, showing clandestine meetings and illegal transactions. This visual proof is damning, leaving the defense scrambling. The jury's reaction is palpable. The tide has clearly turned. Outside the courtroom, Jack faces the press. He speaks candidly about the need for vigilance and integrity in financial practices, calling for systemic changes to prevent such extensive corruption in the future. His words make headlines, sparking debates and discussions on national platforms about reform and oversight. The verdicts are delivered, and they are overwhelmingly against the syndicate. High-profile convictions are secured, sending shockwaves through international financial markets. The success of the trial is hailed as a major victory against global corruption, with Jack recognized as a key figure in the battle. In the aftermath, Jack decides to take a step back from the financial world. He starts a consultancy that focuses on ethics in finance, using his experience to guide reforms and mentor the next generation of financial professionals. Sarah joins him in this new venture, bringing her legal expertise to help shape policies that strengthen oversight and accountability. As they launch their new initiative, Jack reflects on the journey. He visits the grave of a colleague who was killed early in the investigation, a stark reminder of the personal costs of their fight. He lays flowers and promises to continue the work, ensuring his friend's death was not in vain. The episode, and the series, concludes with Jack giving a lecture at a university, inspiring students with his story. He talks about the importance of integrity, the courage to do what's right, and the relentless pursuit of justice. The camera pulls back as the students applaud, and we see Jack, content and hopeful, ready to influence change in a world that desperately needs it. In the wake of the trial's conclusion and the successful launch of his new consultancy, Jack becomes a sought-after speaker and advisor on ethical finance. He uses these platforms to share his experiences, aiming to influence not just financial practices, but also regulatory frameworks worldwide. During one of his seminars, a question from an attendee prompts Jack to reflect deeply on the nature of accountability and redemption. He discusses the importance of not just punitive measures, but also preventative ones, emphasizing education and transparent corporate governance as key factors in combating financial crimes. Jack's insights lead to invitations to participate in governmental advisory panels. He works on crafting legislation aimed at closing loopholes that allow for financial misdeeds. These efforts are challenging, often mired in political complexities, but Jack's first-hand knowledge and unassailable moral standing give him a unique edge in these debates. As changes begin to take root, both in law and in corporate policies, Jack witnesses the ripple effects of his and Sarah's efforts. New cases of financial misconduct are met with swift and decisive actions, a testament to the shifting landscape. Jack's consultancy grows, attracting a team dedicated to fostering ethical practices in various sectors. Sarah, on the other hand, spearheads initiatives focusing on victims of financial crimes, setting up support networks and recovery programs. Her work not only aids those affected, but also helps to restore faith in the financial system. In a quiet moment, Jack visits the newly established Financial Crimes Museum, where an exhibit dedicated to the syndicate case and his role in it has been set up. Walking through, surrounded by photos, documents, and narratives, he feels a complex mix of pride and sorrow. The exhibit does not just tell his story, it serves as a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope for future generations. The series ends with Jack and Sarah at a conference on financial ethics, where they are keynote speakers. As they address a crowd of industry leaders, regulators, and academics, the scene is intercut with shots of their earlier days, Trials, investigations, and personal struggles underscoring how far they have come. The final shot is of Jack and Sarah stepping off the stage, their faces lit by the applause of a crowd inspired to carry forward the torch of change. The camera pulls back to show the conference hall, filled with people standing and clapping, a symbol of the collective effort required to maintain integrity and justice in the face of adversity. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing to our channel and supporting us through the thanks button.